Stephen Ridgway. Apple, so we spoke earlier this week, Apple had released patches for iOS, including some back-ported patches to earlier versions. iOS 16, I think, definitely got some patches. As of yesterday, they have also released patches for macOS, TV OS, watchOS, Vision OS. I'm not even sure that I know what that one is, but never mind, it's out there. They are addressing quite a significant number of vulnerabilities. The patches earlier this week, I think, pushed out. There were 4 vulnerabilities that were addressed, to the best of my knowledge, earlier this week. However, I think that the patches have caught up with the phone patches have caught up with the stuff that they're releasing today. So I would say just have a check to make sure that your phone is on the latest version, because there is some question around whether, according to the security bulletin from Apple earlier this week, they were patching a small number of things. They then went on to patch a large number of things. I believe they actually patched everything anyway. So some of these patches are to do with WebKit. So pretty much then anything which uses Safari in any way whatsoever will have been vulnerable to these particular or will have had these particular vulnerabilities. So definitely worth a check to make sure that if you're running any Mac or Apple devices, that you have got the latest updates in place. Also, in the category of patch it, Cisco has released security updates for Secure Client. So there's an article here from US CISA. So it is basically, as always, recommending that you apply the patches ASAP. It deals with the Cisco Secure Client carriage return line feed injection vulnerability, and the Cisco Secure Client for Linux with ISE posture module privilege escalation vulnerability. So if you haven't already patched your Cisco kit and you're using Secure Clients, then now is the time to do so. Interesting article from in the Register about some work that's been done by Canva. Now I don't know. Canva is quite a popular presentation creation software, graphics. Well, not graphics as in drawing stuff, but graphics as in pulling together graphics for presentations and websites and you name it. So used by creative people in your marketing team very extensively. I've had a little look myself. It's quite nice actually if you're into that. I'm limited by my lack of imagination when faced with a blank white canvas rather than the tooling. So there we go. I'm not very creative in that way. However, anyway, Canva has been looking into potential vulnerabilities. It does appear that the Canva team take information security quite seriously. They're an Australian outfit, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're pounded by a certain nation state that is in their vicinity relatively regularly. So they are looking for ways in which they can improve their security regularly. One of the things that they have been looking at is vulnerabilities in fonts. And they have discovered that Font Tools, which is a library for manipulating fonts that was written in Python, the package can use untrusted XML files when processing the SVG table in an attempt to substitute a font. So what this basically means is it is possible for fonts packages to contain malicious things, and they will potentially get executed by tooling which may be opening those fonts for whatever reason. So font substitution goes on in the background an awful lot. If you've ever wondered why, if you use, I don't know, Google Docs and then you export to Word, things can look subtly different. So it may well be that the fonts, they've gone for a best match font. And there are whole tables of if this then that for fonts in order to maintain the look and feel of documents as they're moved around. So it looks like there are vulnerabilities kicking around in there. They are some of these vulnerabilities are not particularly severe. There's 2024 25081 and 25082, both rated at 4.2, so not particularly concerning. But 2023 25139 is a higher severity bug with a CVSS score of 7.5 out of 10 that is effectively talking about the specific issue in manipulating fonts in Python. So look for upgrades and patches in any graphics tooling that you're using in that space. I would be relatively certain that Canva will have dealt with this by now, because this has now been published. Another interesting article, they're all interesting articles, aren't they? But there's an interesting article in Dark Reading, just as a reminder that sometimes the old attacks are still perfectly functional. Nation states, major APTs from Russia and China, have gone back to using USB sticks or USB devices as a means of propagating malware. Now, feels like a very long time ago. One of the things that you were all taught in, or one was taught in cyber awareness training, was, well, if you find a USB stick in the car park of your office building, don't plug it into your device to see what's on it, because it's probably malware. And actually, at the time, it was quite an effective way of distributing malware, because I don't know why people just used to plug any old stuff into their computers, even though they knew that any old stuff was probably infected with nasties. So, going back 10 years, I do recall security and infrastructure teams having to work very hard to prevent users from just randomly transferring data around on infected USB sticks. And I do recall a very embarrassing moment when the CEO of a globally critical financial infrastructure organization went to give a talk to the heads of all of the world's major banks. Needed to update his presentation, which he got his secretary to do for him, and she gave it to him on a USB stick on her own USB stick, that when plugged into his device triggered a lot of antivirus activity, because it was an infected USB stick. That did not go down well. So anyway, it's back. So watch out. And if you'd forgotten, or perhaps if you'd stopped telling stop telling the young people, stop telling people who are not necessarily aware of these or thinking about these dangers. Pesky USBs are back. Bring your own device stuff also is in this category. People plug things into their own devices willy-nilly, and I bet nobody's said willy-nilly for a very long time. Oh dear, it must be the end of the week. Anyway, read it. It's worth telling people about. And then finally from me today, yes, as I'm sure you would be aware if you've been listening for a while to this briefing, I am astounded at how rubbish security is around electric cars. We talked a while ago about the ways in which you can jailbreak your Tesla in order to give yourself access to those features which they normally enable over the wire. Well, latest fun and games is that if you have a Tesla, okay, you have a Tesla app, or you can have a Tesla app on your phone. The Tesla app does all sorts of things, including unlocking the car and starting the car. Okay, so you would assume that you would need to secure that app fairly well. However, it appears that that isn't the case. So it's relatively straightforward, using a little bit of malicious Wi-Fi spoofing to get access. Well, in fact, basically to get access to the keys that you need in order to register a new phone as being the key to the car. The car will accept this because the app says so. You don't have to be in the car, or the car doesn't have to be already unlocked in order for the new phone to be considered to be the legitimate app. So in a sort of proof of concept, some researchers have been able to register a new phone key that could be used to access Tesla cars, and basically by using, well, they used a Flipper Zero, but you could use pretty much any of these malicious Wi-Fi spoofing devices to do that. Just to effectively, you get hover around a Tesla charging station, spoof a well-known Tesla guest Wi-Fi network. The phones will probably connect directly and prompt you for authentication. Most users then will try to authenticate because they look at that and go, oh yes, I know about the Tesla guest Wi-Fi. So they will put that in. The will then be prompted for any 2FA, and so long as the attacker is collecting and processing the stuff in real time, which can be done automatically, it doesn't have to be a human. You can grab the 2FA token and the password, log into the Tesla account, delete the old phone, put your new phone in, and hey presto, you have got a new Tesla. Can unlock it, start it, and drive away with it. Yeah. Unbelievable. So on top of the stuff that we were talking about earlier this week around the longevity of software and patching on electric vehicles, how far back will they keep applying security patches? The answer being, well, probably not as long as you'd expect. Now we've got relatively trivial means of hijacking somebody's Tesla. If you've got a Tesla, be careful when you're connecting to Tesla guest Wi-Fi networks. Make sure they're legit. That is quite enough from me for one day. I hope you all have a good Friday, a great weekend, and I'll speak to you all on Monday morning.